When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Aloe or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does online business better than Shopify. It's home of Shop Pay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. That's shopify.com/income.
This is The Planted Runner. I'm Coach Claire Bartholic. Do you know what's really going on when you eat that banana before a run? You know it eventually helps power your muscles, but you probably also know that you also got a lot of stored energy on board that your body will use as well. If you listen to this show a lot and you're a marathon runner, you probably also know you should be fueling your long runs and your races with just about as much carbohydrate as you can tolerate to race your best. But how much do you really understand the processes going on inside your body? Fueling your body properly for running is a fairly complex process, but it can be best summed up in one simple phrase called glycogen metabolism. Understanding the basics of glycogen metabolism is essential to creating a fueling plan that will enable you to train and race your best. And the science is actually quite fascinating. Let's find out more. Welcome to The Planted Runner. I'm Coach Claire Bartholic, and my mission is to help you improve your running, your mindset, and your life with science-backed training and plant-based nutrition. On today's show, we dive into how your body uses, stores, and burns fuel to create energy. You'll learn how your body creates and uses fuel for any kind of run, how you can enhance this process, and how you can improve your glycogen storage to have a greater stash of energy for performance. This topic could easily fall deep in the rabbit hole of physiology, biochemistry, and anatomy, but I'm going to hopefully make it easier to understand the process in just a few minutes. Before we get into all the details, I want to thank everyone who's already downloaded my brand new Race Week companion at theplantedrunner.com/raceweek. You're preparing for the most stressful week of your marathon training with the toolkit you need to be your best on race day. And if you haven't gotten yours yet, what are you waiting for? You'll get comprehensive race week nutrition details so you know exactly what to eat and when, a packing checklist for local or destination races, running guidelines for your final week, pacing guides for any type of race, mental strength guided visualization, a self-evaluation guide on how to accurately gauge your fitness based on key training factors, and more. And the best part is you can use this affordable guide right away for your race this spring. And then it's yours to keep forever because I promise you, you'll want to go through it again for your next marathon. To grab your Race Week companion, go to theplantedrunner.com/raceweek. That's theplantedrunner.com/raceweek. As always, don't forget to stay tuned all the way to the end of the episode for another Mental Strength Minute. Fortify your mind in 60 seconds or less. When you run, active muscle cells require a constant supply of energy in the form of a molecule called ATP. ATP is made by oxidizing fat, which comes from fatty acids in the bloodstream or triglycerides stored in the muscle, along with glucose supplied by the bloodstream and the glycogen stored in the muscles. In other words, your body makes the molecule needed for energy from fat and sugar, which is supplied to the muscle cells either from the blood or from the stores in the muscle itself. When you exercise, you're never only burning glycogen. You burn fat as well, but the ratio is different at different intensities and how adept your body is at burning fat, and what you ate for breakfast. For this episode, we're going to focus only on the glycogen part because although muscle and liver glycogen represent just 4% of the body's total fuel stores, Muscle glycogen is the primary fuel during exercise of moderate or greater intensity. But first of all, what is it? In the human body, glycogen is a particle made up of individual glucose molecules. About 20% is stored in the liver, and around 80% is in your skeletal muscle. Glycogen is also present in small amounts in other tissues, but to keep this podcast to a reasonable length, let's not get into all of that today. The more muscle mass you have, the greater amount of glycogen that can be stored, and the fitter you are, the better this entire process works. Most people have somewhere around 1,400 to 2,000 calories worth of glycogen stored in fully fueled muscles, or about 350 to 500 grams. In the liver, you'll have somewhere around 100 grams or 400 calories stored. The glycogen in your liver is used mainly to fuel the normal functioning of the body and the brain, while the glycogen stored in your muscles is conveniently located to fuel the muscle itself. The glucose stored as liver glycogen is used to constantly keep a stable level of glucose circulating in your blood. To ensure the brain has an ample supply of glucose, the liver releases glucose into the bloodstream at about the same rate as it can be used by the tissues, creating a nice balance of supply and demand. Your hungry brain is the biggest consumer of blood glucose. Under normal circumstances, glucose is the only fuel the brain uses. At rest, approximately 60% of the glucose found in blood is metabolized by the brain. When liver glycogen stores fall to low levels, the liver can make its own glucose from things like amino acids, in other words, protein. But this process is limited and cannot keep pace with the demands for glucose during a hard or a long run. So instead, your body starts to tap into a rich source of glycogen, and that's in your muscles. Remember, your body's number one priority is to feed that big brain, not go running for 4 hours. So when your liver gets low on fuel, it will steal it from the muscles, which at some point will slow you down. But if you keep this supply of glucose coming in while you're working out, your storage tanks stay full in both the liver and the muscles, and everyone's happy. Up until a certain point, of course. When the body isn't getting enough fuel coming in, it takes matters into its own hands and starts making glycogen on its own from sources other than what you just ate. That can be a good thing, but in some situations, it's the opposite of what you want. I'll go over that when we come back.
The Planted Runner is sponsored by Liquid IV. As the weather starts to warm up, you know that dehydration is a much bigger factor in your running, and water alone is not always going to be enough on those sweaty runs, which is where Liquid IV comes in. Liquid IV's formula, powered by Live Hydroscience, is clinically shown to maintain hydration better than water for up to 4 hours. All you need to do is add a packet to your water bottle before your run, and you're ready to go with their true-to-fruit flavors, because when it tastes this good, there is no excuse for not staying hydrated. Find all your favorite hydration multiplier flavors on their website, from lemon lime to pina colada. Break the mold and own your ritual. Just one stick plus 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code PLANTED at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code PLANTED at liquidiv.com.
Welcome back to The Planted Runner. I'm Coach Claire Bartholic. Here's something you might not know. We don't fuel our bodies with glycogen. We eat glucose, typically in the form of carbohydrate. Then our body makes glycogen, which is its own form of glucose. The body can either use the glycogen right away, or it can store it for future use. So how is glycogen created? Well, 2 ways. The body makes it directly from the food we eat, or it creates it through a process called gluconeogenesis, using things like the lactate that you just built up when you ran hard. Glycogen is accumulated in the liver primarily after eating, and buildup in the skeletal muscle occurs mainly after exercise, especially in athletes. This is important for runners to know, because it means that after a run, the carbohydrate that you eat replenishes your muscles' fuel so that you can run well again the next day. When you sprint hard or run long, muscle glycogen particles are broken down. This frees glucose molecules that muscle cells then oxidize either anaerobically or aerobically. The rate at which muscle glycogen is broken down and depleted depends primarily upon the intensity of the run. The harder you run, the faster the muscle glycogen is broken down. So that means that intervals and hill repeats are going to lower your glycogen stores in the active muscle cells at a much faster rate than an easy long run. The good news for runners is that the more fit you are, the bigger your storage tanks get. As you run longer and longer, your glycogen stores are reduced and fatty acids in the blood become more available. Endurance training not only increases muscle glycogen stores, but also reduces the reliance on glycogen because those free fatty acids are more ready for use by active muscle cells. In other words, you become more fat adapted simply by endurance training without having to go paleo. Replenishing your glycogen stores after a long or hard workout is an important part of the recovery process, and it will get you ready to run hard again sooner. Your body hates having a low balance in the glycogen bank account, and it will do everything it can to stock up, even if it means cannibalizing the protein in your muscles to do it. Not only is losing muscle a bad thing, but it hurts. Soreness, fatigue, or just feeling a bit off can all be signs that your body wants a carbohydrate deposit as soon as possible. So be sure and grab that banana again when you're done. Now, you might think that if you build more muscle throughout your body, you'll benefit from the added glycogen storage tanks available. Unfortunately, that's not entirely clear. There's not a whole lot of science I could find on this particular topic, but my guess is that the benefits are limited at best. Cross-training is awesome and can definitely supplement your running, but there's a reason you don't see elite marathon runners with huge upper bodies. Muscle is heavy, so if it's not directly used to power your running, it's probably unlikely that the added fuel storage would be worth it. Now, I have just scratched the surface when it comes to the science behind the body's use of glycogen, but the reality is that it's actually pretty simple. Train smart and often, eat a balanced, whole foods diet rich in fruits, veggies, and grains, and don't forget to eat before, during, and especially after your hard runs. If you haven't already downloaded my free Ultimate Fueling Guide for Runners to learn exactly what you should be eating for your runs, grab yours today at theplantedrunner.com/join. That's theplantedrunner.com/JOIN. And now it's time for the Mental Strength Minute. Fortify your mind in 60 seconds or less. Today's topic is frustration tolerance. When you're trying to get better at running, there's always going to be a space where you're not where you want to be. You are better than before, yet you're not at your goal yet. You might even be having plateaus or setbacks. This experience is always frustrating. But focusing on the negative part of frustration will make it even worse. Frustration is actually a sign that you're experiencing a period of growth. You are working towards something you don't yet have, and the more you can tolerate the frustration of not being at your goal, the more likely you are to stick to it to actually get there. So the next time you're feeling frustrated at the process, that's your sign that you're exactly where you need to be. Thank you for listening to The Planted Runner, part of the Evergreen Podcast Network. Don't forget that you can enter to win a free custom training plan for your next race and get featured on the show. Just write an Apple Podcast review and enter at theplantedrunner.com/PRLab. Of course, reviews are the #1 way to boost this show's reach, and it's a great way to tell me what you'd like to hear next because I read every single one. Have a great run today.
There is no hood like parenthood. When you meet a fellow parent, you just kind of get each other on a whole nother level. Hi, I'm Kanika Chadda Gupta. I'm a former CNN journalist, mom of 3, including twins, and host of That's Total Mom Sense, the podcast. I interview change makers on their life lessons, legacy, and superpower of intuition. aka their mom sense and dad sense. I've had some pretty amazing parents on my show.
Hey, what's up? I'm Kelly Rowland.
Hi, this is Chelsea Clinton. It's me, Bobby Brown. Can't wait to share my story.
Episodes release every Thursday. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. Join my tribe at that'stotalmomsense.com and follow me on Instagram at Kanika Chadda Gupta. I'm thrilled to be on this journey with you.
Sports stars. They're like superheroes.
But they're actually real.
Which is why we've made a podcast about them. You see,
They've all got a story.
but too many of these stories were cut short.
Kobe Bryant,
Payne Stewart,
Flojo,
Phil Hughes.
Justin Fashanu,
We're writing episodes about all of them.
and sadly many more.
Death of a Sports Star, a new series from Crowd Network.